Okay, so we're moving along. We've got James, who is on Zoom, hopefully. Yeah, and he is talking about item 13 as well.
I have an unidentified Zoom.
And yep, he's got his name there.
Kia ora koutou.
Hello, mate.
Kia ora koutou. Hi, Phil. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak briefly to councillors around emissions and emissions reporting. My name's James Higham. I'm a Professor of Sustainable Tourism at Griffith University and an Honorary Professor in the School of Geography in the Otago Business School at the University of Otago. My research focuses on tourism and climate change. Could I have the next slide, please? It's very, very important to accurately measure emissions from different sources. That has been established this morning and goes without saying. Measuring and reducing council emissions, including flying and car use, emissions from landfill and electrifying operations wherever possible, will make a difference. And this is very creditworthy and very important. But in the scheme of things, these are small and relatively low-hanging fruit in terms of emissions. Next slide, please. I want to speak briefly today regarding how important it is that any emissions inventory includes and measures emissions that are significant and super high growth, even if they're difficult to abate. And this, of course, includes emissions from council-controlled organisations, most notably Lyttelton Port Company and Christchurch International Airport Limited. Shipping and aviation is where a large share of current and future emissions lie. And between now and 2030, we need to measure those emissions and respond. These need to be addressed under the Paris Agreement, but they're largely or almost entirely unregulated at the moment. I'm talking about international transport. And this is effectively a subsidy that's driving growth in emissions relative to other sectors. I want to emphasize that we're in a period of rapid change at the moment in which these emissions are now entering the fold in terms of policy responses. Examples include the European Union bringing international shipping emissions into the EU emissions trading scheme. We're seeing cruise ships being banned now from European ports because of their high emissions, including air pollution. We're seeing some cities in Europe now indicating publicly that cruise ships are incompatible with their urban sustainability agendas. So I want to emphasize, by way of the pathway forward, that we need to make brave evidence-based decisions about significant and super high growth emissions. This will require that we continue to advance the development of methodologies to fully and accurately account for international aviation and shipping emissions, so that we can move from estimates to accurate accounting. These emissions then will need to be, of course, fully accounted for in the Christchurch City emissions inventory, which I hope will lead to adopting an all-party collaborative approach, which is required for these entities to work together with key stakeholders to reduce emissions in line with the Council's 2030 targets. There are lots of examples that I could speak about, but here's one. Cruise ships in Europe are now being required to connect to shore power supply so that they don't emit whilst they're berthed in ports. Currently, no New Zealand ports provide provision for shore power supply. It's expensive to provide that infrastructure, and we need a collaborative approach to work out how to provide that infrastructure, including energy companies, to make sure that cruise ships can connect to renewable energy supply onshore when they're in berth. We're also going to require CCOs to foster slower traffic growth, and if necessary, to cap or reduce high-emitting, high-growth discretionary and luxury emissions. We've heard a bit about that already this morning. And we're going to need to rein in city entities where concerns arise for engaging in greenwashing while planning rapid growth in future traffic and therefore future emissions. I'd also like to recommend that the Council extend its support to national action via the Climate Commission's current work in 2024, looking to bring international transport emissions into New Zealand's national greenhouse gas emissions inventory. I think that's really important too, if Christchurch City is going to be leading in this space. Those are the key points I wanted to make this morning. Thanks for your attention and best wishes with this critically important work.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. Absolutely spot on timing. Thank you. Okay, so now we're changing subject a bit. We will hear from Anne on behalf of Spokes, who is going to speak to us regarding item 14 and 16, which is the Northern Line and MCR Norwest Arc report.
Could we get an idea from our companies or subsidiaries what it would actually cost to do that function, which was just talked about, as in connecting the ships? Because okay.
When that topic comes up, we'll be able to speak.